Okay, welcome to this month's Community Mind Chatters podcast, and I'm Emma Rose from Inspired to Change Spalding. We've got Vanessa from Community Mind Matters, and then we've got our wonderful, gorgeous guest speaker, a man, Mark Lassard. And you'll probably recognise Mark from the Zebra Band. And he plays the keyboard, and he's also the extravagant van driver. Mark is a paediatric theatre nurse, a principal, an ex-principal, prison officer. He's a father of 3 and the grandfather of 4 beautiful grandchildren. And Mark's here today to talk to us about his mental health story and a little bit about men's mental health. So thank you very much for being with us here, Mark. It's wonderful to have you. So we thought we'd kick off because it's Mental Health Awareness Week 2021, and the subject for this year is nature. So I thought we'd go around the room and just talk about nature, our favourite place in nature, and why we like to be there. So Vanessa, where's your favourite place in nature?
Oh, it's got to be Ascafy. That's I love being there and just walking outside. Like today, did a mental health walk for mental health, and it was lovely. Birds were singing, people were happy. It's just, I love being outside. Yeah, mine's Ascafy.
Yeah, it's like a safe space for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so many people that I've met in there, and the people are so lovely. It's just a lovely place to be. So friendly. You don't get any trouble in there. It is safe, and it's helped a lot of people through lockdown. It's really been a real lifesaver for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you can always get a squirrel, floating about somewhere, climb in a tree, the birds, the ducks. There's something for everybody there, really.
It's a really nice place. We're very lucky and fortunate to have that green space for people to get to.
Absolutely.
I remember just seeing something on the telly about all those people who lived in the flats.
Oh.
And with kids and just couldn't get out. So
it must have been awful for them. Could you imagine it? I was at Ascafy every day through lockdown. Absolutely every day, just checking on people. To have that was a privilege. I was privileged to have that through lockdown. But there was lots of people that didn't have that privilege. Going out for them was going onto their pavements. If you live in a flat, you have no chance of getting out and that, breathing that fresh air in.
Yeah.
So mine's definitely Ascafy. Yeah.
Fantastic. What about you, Mark?
Well, I have to say, my favourite place is mountains, which is a bit of a problem when you live in the Fens, because you've only got one on that bridge. That's not that tall, is it?
Oh.
So, but I'm really lucky as a kid. I was able to travel to various different countries and within the UK and spend time up in mountains doing a bit of skiing and stuff. And I absolutely love being on top of the world. Now, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy being in Ascafy and places like that. To be up there, the air is so clean, and you're sort of almost part of the geography of the world when you're up there, and it's amazing. I remember being at the top of one mountain in particular, and just watching these eagles soaring about.
Oh, amazing.
And that was just watching them spiraling around on the thermals and all the rest of it. So that is one of my favourite places. But of course, not been able to go. So I've spent a great deal of time in Ascafy, and majority of it with you, I might say. But we are very lucky to have that open space.
Absolutely.
But any open space is fantastic. And one of the things I used to enjoy years ago, I was a milkman for Pinchbeck Dairies, and the best thing for me was first thing in the morning, about 6 o'clock. And I remember being out down South Drove in the old days during the war, when they used to have the hay bales with just the proper little small square rectangular ones, not these great big round ones nowadays. And I remember being down there was a bit of mist. The corn had been cut, the bales had been made, and there was like rabbits and pheasants and You know, it was just
Nice.
great. Sat there with my flask of tea, just
wonderful.
watching the world
Yeah.
go by.
Yeah.
You know, had a little 15-minute break and just sat. There was only me. You know, just Mark the milkman in the middle of nowhere. It's fantastic.
You need to do that. I'm a great believer, and we need to take ourselves in nature. It's what I love being in Ascafie. Ascafie is nice about 4 or 5 o'clock because there's hardly anybody in there, and I go in there sometimes just so I can sit there by myself and just sit there and just, you know, relax, sit on the bench and just listen to the birds.
Watch the world go by.
And nobody, you know, and it's just lovely. Have my cup of tea or just sit there. It's just, there's nothing better.
It's like an escape, isn't it? You can just escape and be out, you know, watch the world go by, as you said. And not feel like you're all part of it, and you're in the rush and the hurry. It's just
I'm always in a rush and a hurry, so it is nice just to sit and go, oh, I need to relax for 5 minutes.
I think one of the lucky things about where I live is during lockdown, I could take a 2-minute walk and I would be in the middle of nowhere. And you're in a completely different place then, so that's really nice. And I reconnected with the village I live in and took lots of different walks and routes that I didn't even know existed. And that was just lovely. And I think there's something really special about going to the sea as well, and just being by the sea and knowing that you know there's so much more to the world, isn't there? There's loads of different places you can go, and again, watching the world go by and the peace and the silence.
Oh, it's magical. It's the best feeling in the world.
And of course, talking about mental health, I mean, it's well known that exercise and being outside is a really positive and a helpful thing for people who are suffering. So, well,
look at the walk today. We did a mental health walk this morning, and you know what? Everybody was so happy. 2 of them wanted to do a sing song and started singing. You know, it was just lovely, and it was all different age groups. It was just nice. It was lovely.
Yeah, I think I was one of the youngest there.
No, that was me.
Well, I'm off, that's it.
I've met a lovely couple, a really lovely older couple, and they're lovely people. They haven't got mental health, they're just 2 lovely people I met in the gardens, and they came and joined for once, you know, and it was just so lovely that they, even though they don't have mental health, they came to support it. You know, they've met me through lockdown, and they're sort of like, they're very interested in what I do. They always ask me, oh, you know, and how you doing, and you know, how's your groups going? That's lovely.
Yeah,
they're a different generation. It's, you know, sometimes people don't understand that. They just, you know, it's a different generation, but they're lovely people.
So, Mark, you are a wombler or a womble. I'm not sure the word right.
Yes, I am a wombler and I'm wombled. Yes, I am, and I think it's great. And I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about my wombling experiences is that, is that, you know, it's nice to be out doing something for the community, something positive, something proactive. You know, if I go out on my bike, I'll go around and I'll sadly report any fly tipping that I come across, and I've got a little route that I tend to do, and just keep an eye on what's going on, and then report that into the Womble group on Facebook. But also go out with my litter picker and stuff like that, and I got the band and all the zebras together. I turned the zebras into wombles for a Saturday afternoon, you know, and that was good. And we haven't seen each other. We've not been able to practice. Nice. We've had no gigs. Yeah. And you know, for me, you know, playing in the band, being with those guys, and playing the music is like my mental health medication. You know, because I'm not the world's most brilliant keyboard player. In fact, I'm, you know, a better van driver by far. But I can't concentrate on what's going on in my head and play the keyboard. So if my mind is full of not so nice thoughts, if I'm playing the keyboard, then that's all I can concentrate on. And for those few hours that I'm actually playing in the band, whether that's just at a practice or at a gig, it's just amazing for me because I feel so good and so positive and so energized by, you know, sometimes the response from the people in the crowd, or just something that someone says between the four of us at practice. You know, it's just brilliant. Music is such an emotive subject, isn't it? I mean, it can, you know, bring you up, bring you down. It can remind you of, you know, one of the things I say when I speak to potential brides and brides and grooms, but predominantly brides, because they're always the boss, is, you know, your choice of music. You know, think really carefully about what you're going to choose, because what you choose for you might mean something different to the person you're marrying. Or, you know, it's got to be a, you know, think about what it is, because, you know, we've played, for example, Angels by Robbie Williams. Yeah. You know, for one person that's a nice, you know, romantic song. For someone else, it's what they played at their granddad's funeral. Yeah. And, you know, so you just got to be a bit careful, really, sometimes of how things can play out. But, you know, I really miss playing completely. So yeah, been good. But yeah, so wombling, I went off subject a little bit. Yeah, so I've really enjoyed working with the group. Go with my little girl Ella, and during lockdown, so we would have our lunch and then we would go and do a little bit of wombling as our exercise. And we'd only go outside where we live and then up the Coronation Channel and do a small section. But it was really good to get her involved and just see how, I mean, to the point where she went, but Daddy, we did this bit yesterday and someone's already thrown some fag ends down. You know, and then why is that can there? Yeah. You know, and so she was getting frustrated that we tied it all up within 24 hours. Someone else had just thrown something else casually away. And I mean, I think one of the big things that we really don't take great care of in Spalding is the amount of, you know, we've got the Welland and the Coronation Channel. We are surrounded by water, yet there is so much rubbish floating about. I mean, I know there's a couple of really very kindly been and bought themselves a little rubber dinghy, and they go out and collecting it all. But I mean, it's just awful. We don't get to use those waterways. We used to have the raft race years ago, but, you know, tried to get that restarted a few years ago, but we're not allowed to do that. And the water that we've got around us is just a fantastic facility, you know, just to be able to walk around on the riverbanks and stuff like that. It's amazing. You know, the swans are nesting now, and it's just been absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's lovely, and it's a shame that we can't utilise the rivers more, really. I mean, there was talk years ago about there being some sort of marina, which would be fantastic, you know, and for people to use and bring more people into the area. You know? So, but I picked up so much rubbish along the riverbank. It's not, don't get me wrong, you know, most fishermen will take their stuff away with them, but there are the odd one or two who will leave line about and stuff like that, and with hooks and things like that. And I've picked that up, and floats and things. But you know, the plastic bags floating in the river, and, you know, the birds catch it and stuff like that. So, you know, I really like to take care of the riverbanks. I think it's a vital part of what Spalding was founded on. Because, of course, you know, the River Welland was tidal at one point. We used to be shipbuilders and all that. We've got the Shipwreck Society, you know, and, you know, we really should take care of our rivers a lot more than we do, really.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how much rubbish the Wombles have collected
altogether as a big
altogether,
wouldn't it?
As a collective.
If you ask Great Uncle Bulgaria, aka Simon Law, he might be able to tell you, because there was a thing about how many black bags were collected in a certain area.
It's so lovely to see people out, you know, especially if you go walk through town.
There was one in Ascafy today.
Yeah, and it's just so lovely, because we should take more care of our environment and stuff like that. And it's just so lovely. And these people have worked so hard. And, you know,
in their own time.
In their own, and it's just lovely, because it's got them out, it's got them doing something in the community, and it's just wonderful. I mean, we've only just started doing ours, but I think we're something that we're going to carry on doing it, where, you know, and we, you know,
we will,
it grow. But the thing is, those people with mental health getting out and doing that, most people with mental health want to do something, but they will not go to a normal setting because of their anxiety and stuff. So us doing this is just like...
Yeah, because the excuse is the litter picking. So they're not going to talk about their mental health.
Absolutely
They're
not.
coming to do litter picking.
Yeah.
And then as we're casually talking,
And they do.
they'll tend to open up and tell us a little bit more.
Well, I think you had it today on the walk.
Yeah,
somebody was just opened up and
yeah.
talked to you. See, just going for a walk opens a door sometimes. And
Yeah, someone I've never met before.
Yeah, chatting away.
You know.
And he, you know, and he got a lot out of that conversation. And it's just wonderful. Doing these little projects and everything like that really benefits. Somebody goes home at the end of the day going, I've done something today. I've achieved something, instead of going, oh, all I've done today is this. Because there's so much negative for these people and not enough positive. So there's a positive today. You've fixed the litter up. You've talked to somebody new.
Yeah. And when we take that positive action, we get that chemical reward in the body and the brain, and we feel good, and that encourages us to do more and builds our confidence and everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, Mark,
what? You don't know. Sorry, Emma. You just don't know. Just by that little conversation, what is going on in that person's head. And just you saying hello, how are you, could make the difference between them being very positive or being massively negative. You know, and you just don't know. So just be nice and say hello.
Well, for him today, he did nothing but smile. Even after you had gone, I did a group straight after, and he was in a good mood. Really good mood. I'm not saying he's a miserable person, but he was even more upbeat because he'd spoken to somebody different, and he's spoken to somebody, and you know, and it was a man as well. I mean, because we have got a mixture, but I am the only woman. I'm a woman running a group. You know, sometimes he might think you might need to speak to a man about something. So I don't know what you were talking about. So wasn't this
motorbikes? Motorbikes. We're both motocyclists.
But there you go. Isn't that lovely?
But the thing is that I found, and obviously as you said, I'm a nurse. And I've often found that when I've been to a patient, particularly when I worked in, for example, the community, was that I'd go to treat, say, a leg ulcer or something like that, you know, and go and do the bandage and do that. But I would always like to have a cup of tea or a chat and stuff. And it was during the cup of tea bit where I would actually find out what's really going on.
Yeah, of course.
So, you know, going to dress that wound was the actual physical function of me being there, but by being able to have that cup of tea and just that little bit of a chat and just a general chit chat about grandchildren or kids, and then all of a sudden they go, oh yeah, and this, and then before you know it, you're actually coming to that there's actually a cardiac issue going on now, and that we actually need to do some bloods, and you know, things are happening that they're not mentioned. But if we haven't had that cup of tea or that little chat, you know, and that's I think that's for a lot of people who work in the community as nurses, it's very difficult that the time's been squeezed. And you know, isn't it International Nurses Day today? So thanks to all those nurses out there who are working, doing the 24 hours and all the night shifts and all the rest of it. We're very, very grateful.
Thank you very much
for everything that you've done. And I'm a chair of the South Links branch of the Royal College of Nursing, and we are exceptionally proud of everything that our nurses in this area do. They've been absolute stalwarts throughout the pandemic. Before, we clapped for everybody on a Thursday, didn't we? So now I think they deserve that pay rise. So we need to be backing them to the hilt, really. So thank you, nurses, and but obviously all the other medical people and who've wasn't just the nurses. So thank you.
Fantastic. So I think I can't remember where we were. We've kind of got off a little bit, but
sorry, it's probably my fault because I'm quite sorry.
What inspired you to get involved with Community Mind Matters then, Mark, and start the One Ball? And
well, the thing is, I think, as Vanessa will tell you, I've been perhaps doing all this for years anyway. You know, I've always been, because I was medically retired from the prison service with post-traumatic stress disorder, and which was a horrendous journey, awful, absolutely. It's gone goosey now, just talking about it. Okay, and it was just a horrendous time, awful part of my life, from when the incident happened in 2005 to being medically retired in 2010. And I have to say, I'm feeling quite a failure when, even though I knew it was coming, I knew I was going to be getting medically retired and seeing the psychiatrist report, what the psychologist had put, medical advisors, the GP, and I knew it was coming. But when I actually physically got that letter that said you're being retired, I threw up. I felt horrendous. And the fact that I was almost at such a young age being put on what I felt was the scrappy. I mean, it was just awful. I remember being at my previous house, and the boys had gone off to school. The post came, and I sat at the dining room table and opened up this official-looking letter, and just read it, burst into tears, and threw up. It was just awful. And then I didn't really know what I was going to do then, because it was like, well, what do I do? And I worked for 12 months with the Prince's Trust, who are a fantastic organisation, and I really enjoyed working with them on their team programme, working with the kids in the NEET category, you know, not in education, employment or training, and those kids had found things difficult at school and all the rest of it, and just absolutely just wonderful time. And what they don't realise is that although I was helping those kids, they were helping me. Because I was lost and I didn't know what was going on. And I remember when I've got two sons and a daughter, and my two sons, I'd get them off to school, and one particular time I had a really bad night, and I found that night time was worse for me. Didn't sleep, had the most terrifying nightmares, dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And I didn't want to upset or scare my children. So I would really try to hold it all together to get them through the door so that they could get off to school. And this one particular time, I was biting my tongue so hard to stop myself crying. I actually bit through my own tongue trying to get my kids through the door so they could go, and ended up having stitches at the back of my mouth because I, just didn't want to cry in front of my boys. And then, my eldest, bless him, a couple of times he would come back from school, and I'd literally shut the door and collapse in a heap behind the door. And I've woken up with the post on my head where I'd fallen down and just collapsed in a heap by the bottom of the door. Or Jodie trying to get in, bless him. And I'd wake up and think, he must think I checked the electricity box so many times. Because I went, I'm just looking for the electric, Jodie, that's why I'm down. Sorry, But actually, I was just shattered from a night of terrifying dreams and not being able to sleep, with the walls crushing me, closing me in. And I still, even now, I have to sleep with the light on. With my little girl's there, it's not so bad. So I've got primary care of her, so she's with me most of the time. But when she's with her mum, I hate it. I can't, don't want to be in my house on my own. It's just awful. And, I'll happily help anybody, do all sorts of stuff, busy, helping people, doing this, at the drop of a hat. But I hardly do anything for myself.
But don't you find you doing that? Because I know with me, we actually are helping ourselves quite a bit, because I love to help people. Because I think there's a connection when somebody's been through a certain thing. And you feel that connection with somebody, like you feel when somebody's telling you something, and all of a sudden you switch and you go, I've been that person, I've been you, but I'm further on. you know, I'm further on, I've got the same condition as you, different circumstances, but I am very well with mine. I've really worked hard on mine, and I am well, but I don't think it'll never leave me. There's still trigger things that I have to be really, really careful about. I have to be really careful with certain things. And I remember the nightmares, the flashbacks, and they can be horrendous, and it can be a trigger, and it could be a smell, it could be something, and you're all of a sudden, I'm like, oh. And if you're out in the open, you're not with people that understand you, it could be so frightening. And that hit about hiding it from the children. I remember doing that with Taylor. I was just like, you know, I can't let him see me like this. You're supposed to be the parent, you're supposed to protect your children, and when you're not well, it's hard to admit that you need help.
Yeah.
I never admitted I needed help, because I thought, as you said, you feel you're a failure. But we're not. We're not. I know that now. We are people. We've got lots of talents now. I use all my talents now, but helping people is at the top of my list.
So I didn't know what those emotions think. What I thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, that's what it was like, and these flashback hallucinations were just, until I'd gone through and I had EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And I had to go over to Leicester for that. It was quite new then at the time. And I was really, really very lucky, because I'd got a chap helping to oversee my care called Professor Gordon Turnbull, who helped Terry Waite when he debriefed Terry Waite when he came back after being held hostage all those years. And in fact, it was Terry, who I'm very lucky to know personally through some of my charity work with the Butler Trust in London, who is a charity that supports prison and probation work. In fact, the people are nominated quite often by prisoners for ordinary work extraordinarily well done, and that's the sort of line. And so I was very lucky to receive a Butler Trust Award, the Lord Wolfe Award, in 2000, and meet Terry. And after the incident in the prison, Terry had come over with Princess Anne to meet a group of people in the prison that I worked at, and I wasn't there because I was off sick because of this incident. And then he wrote to me to see what was going on, and unfortunately, the prison system being what it was, he wrote to me in the April, and they sent me the letter in October.
Oh.
So I was mortified that this wonderful man, this fantastic humanitarian, who'd taken the time to bother to write to me, little old Mark, and I rang the number on the letter immediately. So, I'm so sorry, please don't think so I literally opened it up and explained what happened to him, happened to me to him. And he said, look, I'm going to have a word with someone. It sounds very similar to the way I was. And he put me in touch with Professor Turnbull, and he really helped me get back onto getting the right treatment and stuff, which I was really lucky, because EMDR was quite new then. And Professor,
so explain a little bit about EMDR. So what happens with that kind of therapy?
Well, it's either tapping or pressing buzzers or something like that. And for me, I was tapping my legs while talking through what was going on, and it was just a way of being able to process the information. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm just the patient basically. So I can only explain it from how it had an impact on me. So you really need someone who is a practitioner to explain how it works. But for me, it was about taking these horrendous flashbacks. So if I explain my flashbacks to you, it was like, there they go, gone all goosey again now, and it was like a film was being run through my ears. So if you can imagine a whole great, like a projector in the cinema. So this film was going through my ears, and my brain is the light and my eyeballs are the lens, and they're projecting this image of what I saw in the prison, and predominantly it was the 3 awful nightmares that I had over a period of time. just kept recycling. And it was like, well, for example, like I'm looking at this screen now. So it's like that flashback that's going through my head, being projected is this screen where you are now right in front of me, Emma.
Okay.
But I know that I'm in this room with you, and there's the window, and there's Jack, hi, and I can see all that. But when I was having my flashback, when I was really ill, my brain went, you're in danger, you've got a threat to your life. And then this screen, this film, this image that was projected, a few feet in front of my face became my reality. And I focused on what didn't exist, only existed in my head. But actually, this is all I saw. This square, this bit here, that was all I saw. And I focused in on that. And then this overwhelming anxiety, panic, chest, heart about to burst out of my chest, breathing, pins and needles, like just this here. For those of you who are medical, you can only get this reaction if you're cold or you're having that fight or flight. Your body won't do it any other time. So my body right now is going, something's happening. And, I know I can feel my heart. I can feel my heart going. You can feel it just there. But I know that, I'm in a safe place.
Yeah.
And because of the EMDR, I was really able to understand what was happening and be able to, in my head, think I'm not in danger. What I'm seeing here is not the reality. The reality is the window behind, and I learned to look through that image and see beyond the image. And that's what it was about. And also to come up with a safe place so that when I when I had that image, that I was able to turn the horrendous image into a peaceful image. So for me, that image was of the prisoner lying in his bed. And for me, it was all about being able to protect him and save him, because I'd worked really hard with him over a period of time before what happened. And so he was laid asleep in his bed. There was a little nightlight on the table. There was a copy of Harry Potter, the Goblet of Fire, because that was my favourite book. And for some reason, when we were doing all this EMDR work, and you have to remember that during this process, I'm not hypnotised as such, like in your sort of sense that you were talking about, but I'm not quite fully there because I'm processing this whole thing, and it was really difficult. Now, the first time I had that treatment in Leicester, I had this most really, really vivid, clear flashback that was so powerful. I actually almost pushed my chair back through the wall of the room that I was in, because it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I couldn't see through. And it's the first time I'd had the EMDR, and they were filming it. And at the end of my treatment, which was very successful, and you do have to persevere with it, and it might sound weird, but you just, go with it. And it's, and at the end of it, when we had sort of like our feedback session, right at the end, the lady said that I actually scared her in the fact that she could see this happening to this person. Like, I'm fighting in an imaginary, there's nothing there. And I'm fighting this whole thing going on, because all I can see is this horrendous thing going on in my head, this prisoner. And but fortunately I was able to get myself out of it. But I remember I was so tired, and I wasn't allowed to drive back from Leicester. They actually picked me up in a taxi, and in fact they went to the taxi, picked up a prison officer, a friend of mine who worked in the was part of the Prison Officers Association. They picked him up, brought him to Spalding, then he and I drove to Leicester, and then I had my treatment, and then he came back with me to Spalding to make sure I was safe, and then they took him back to Market Harbour, because it was so draining. I mean, I fell asleep in the taxi on the way home. I was shattered, absolutely shattered. And I think I had something like 12 sessions in total. that lasted.
At what point did you start to feel like you were becoming free of these flashbacks, or you were feeling some progression and you were starting to feel better? What point?
The difficulty is I still have flashbacks. So I was just saying earlier when we were chatting that only last Thursday I sat down to watch the film Sully about the forced water landing on the Hudson River. And, you know, isn't Tom Hanks brilliant? I mean, fantastic. Love him to bits. I love Sleepless in Seattle, brilliant. But I was fine watching it. Absolutely amazing. You know, great film, perfect, really enjoying it. Cup of tea, sat in my lounge, no problem. And then it got to the bit about 3/4 of the way through the film where they actually show the plane coming in to land on the water. And Sully turns to the co-pilot and, you know, he says, brace. He says to the crew, prepare for it, brace or whatever. And they say, brace, brace, get down, stay down. Brace, brace, get down, stay down. And they just, the air hostesses, just, that's what they keep shouting. And at that point, once you saw the fear on those people's faces, my body went, boom. Yeah. That's it. You know, now, and the thing for me is that I actually absorb the emotion of the people that I'm seeing, and it's predominantly films. My big thing is films. Some smells, some sounds. I'll tell you about a sound in a minute that happened to me in Morrison's, in fact. But predominantly it's films, and I see the emotion of the person. So, but it doesn't have to be like that was a crash situation. And my heart rate went up the same as it did just sat here with talking to you, Emma. But I know I'm safe. I'm watching the telly. I'm in my own lounge. But because of the EMDR and the CBT and the hard work of the practitioners who've all, so I'd still, even now, I still have support. I mean, I only had a session yesterday morning. You know, some more CBT, some more support, and I've got another 11 sessions of that, because it's a constant thing for me in that it's a fight most days to be Mark. That's hard, really difficult, but I'm okay. I'm all right. And it's, I think, you know, you see this and it's okay, and I'm doing stuff, but you don't see the bit, you know, you don't see all the paddling underneath to be able to present that I'm okay. But, you know, I don't know whether I always will be or how it'll be, but I do my bit and I try my best. And it's hard, and I'm grateful for the help that I get. And, you know, really, it's just one of those things where it's a constant battle to be on an edge all the time. So the walks are great and getting out's good, and seeing lots of people and being an advocate for people who've got, because, you know, okay, I know I've got upset, but at the same time, I'm happy to talk about it. There's nothing wrong with getting upset. But before I'd hide, and I didn't want people to see that it's difficult, and it is difficult. It's not easy, you know. But I saw some horrendous things, and it's, you know, you can't fix that with a band-aid, you know. Sorry, I sound very American. Plaster, plaster, it's a plaster. That's Trump. So, but you know, but you can't just put a plaster on it and it's fixed. It's not, you know. And I think it's been wonderful, really. I mean, I worked at Headley Court, you know, where the guys come back from after they injured, you know, with limbs missing and stuff like that, or the mental health. And, you know, Prince Harry predominantly, but as well as Prince William, done some fantastic work over the last few years of people being able to understand that mental health is an illness. It's, you know, it's just your brain's a bit broken. it's, you know, people, if you've got a broken arm, you've got plaster on, plaster cast, they go, oh, there you go, there's something wrong with you, that's okay. I understand you can't use your hand because you've injured it, you know, but you can't see what's broken in here.
No.
You can't see what needs fixing. Sometimes you don't know what's fixing, and it's just, it takes time, but it also takes, the hard thing is being able to say, I need help.
But that's why,
and that's the thing, isn't it?
I think that's why me and you doing what we do with the community, we're good role models for people. And we are, because we're making it okay to talk and okay to show emotion like you have done. Important. And are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. My tea's getting a bit cold. Where's Jack?
But you know, it is okay. It's okay to not be okay. You know, and it's fine. And I know when I'm working with people one-to-one, things like that, and I sometimes feel that emotion of them, and I can sit there and I can, like, you know, and I have worked extremely hard, but as Mark has just explained and everything, I am well, but I always have to be conscious of my condition and my triggers. And there is, when you were talking about films just now, there is certain things I can't watch. Because sometimes it's a tone in a voice, or it's a tone in, it can be something, or and I'm like, I need to switch this over. I can't do this. I can't watch this, you know. And I didn't know, I mean, I sleep on my own, so I didn't know that apparently, my son said one day when he found me on the sofa that I punch in my sleep. You know, but I didn't know any. So all these things that you're not aware of, because, you know, I wasn't aware of, you know, my night terrors. I mean, I don't have them now, but when I did have them, it was, like you say, it's nighttime. It's really, it was nighttime that I suffered as well. You know, but it's okay to show, because I think sometimes people like to see the dark side of your mental health, you know, in a sense, because I'm a very happy person. I'm a very positive person, but I've not always been that way. I have been like those days where I couldn't even walk out the door. And if you can remember rightly, 8 years ago, you did a mental health walk.
That's right,
You did the walk and you invited me. Did I join in? I sat in the corner. I wouldn't even walk with them.
You always had your hat on.
I hid behind hats.
Hat and dark glasses.
Because I just didn't want to be seen. I wanted to join in, but I was so scared, because I was scared of acting a bit, because when you've got this condition, I found if I was shaking or anything like that, people were staring at me, and I didn't want people. Now, it wouldn't bother me. You know, because if I go into a meeting with a big room, and I had a friend, and he used to come with me, and I'd be under the table, and my hands would be going like that. I'm going, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. Do you know what? I still think if I was in that big environment, I'd still be like that. You know, because I don't like big groups of people. I like, this is fine. Any more than probably 6 or 7, I'm like, oh, it's getting a bit too much now.
Well, that's why the Wombling group's good.
Yes.
Because we're not talking about mental health.
We're not. Absolutely not.
It's litter picking.
Yeah.
With people who understand a little bit about what you're going through, you know. When I was saying about Morrison's, and it's other supermarkets are available, but I just happened to be in Morrison's when this happened, and I was down by the what used to be the fridge bits, and all the rest of it's changed. It's the crisp aisle now. Not that I spend a lot of time down the crisp aisle, but it's down that way, and there's some doors where they can go in and out of the cold store bit. And I think when the forklift is going through, there's a bell that rings to make people aware, or a door's going up or something. I can't tell you exactly what happens.
Alarm.
But some sort of alarm. But I got a bit of shopping in a basket, and I was just down that end, and that bell went off, and it's the same tone as the alarm bell in the prison. And I froze to the spot, started shaking like you just said. I was crying. I dropped the basket, and I had to walk out. Not one person asked if I was all right.
I know.
Not one person stopped me. And I was in literally floods of tears. But nobody. I got stared at.
That's it.
I got completely stared at. But not. And I always remember the one time I wanted someone to ask if I was all right. Was the one time no one did.
Mm.
You know.
I found that the same. That's why I hated going to supermarkets, because if you have those moments, it's very scary, because I would, like you, put that basket just down on the floor.
I dropped it.
Yeah, I'd
There's
be
a
gone.
huge, great clatter.
Yeah, I'd be gone.
Philadelphia everywhere.
Yeah. What a waste. But you know, my son used to come out with me, and he would see me sort of like he would know if there was too many people, he'd go, Mum, should we leave this and we'll go over here? He was like my, you know, and it was brilliant. You know, I was so proud of him for doing that for me, because I wouldn't have gone out the house. I would not have gone out, because I didn't want to go out, because I was so scared. And it was, and it's horrible to say, because not everybody sees it like that, but it is hard out there when you have this condition to feel that you're understood. Because if I went up to somebody and just go, look, I need, they either haven't got time, or they really don't know how to help you. And that's the thing, you know, and it's hard for people. It's really hard.
I remember Ella was only little. So there was a lot of the staying in. You do that when you've got young ones, you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so doing a bit of shopping, and so looking for a DVD, and Sarah picked up this DVD, and she said, "Oh, Bronson, I've always wanted to watch that. That's great." "Oh, you can't watch that. You'll send you off on one and put it back." And then went and chose something else. And I'm stood there going, I can't. Someone else is deciding what I can watch on the television because of the reaction. "Hello, isn't it bedtime?" What sort of mother are you? You should have been in bed ages ago. "Did you want a drink of water?"
Do you know where the craft paper is, Mummy?
Oh, bless.
Oh, well, she looks lovely. A very polite child.
Yeah.
You know, so that was for me, and I felt that big.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that I've never watched it, actually, to be fair.
No.
But I think I could watch it now.
Yeah.
But she was probably right. You know, I probably would have actually freaked out.
Yeah.
That's a dreadful word to use, but for me, I would have had some sort of
reaction.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's hard. It's hard for us going through it, but it's hard for I think, you know, my children found it very hard, me coping with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do think.
So if you're with someone, I've walked across a car park.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Sarah's gone, "Ah, what are you doing?" And I've put her in an arm lock because in my head, I'm being attacked by someone with a knife.
Yeah.
And I actually started to put her into a wrist lock. You know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sorry, I'm being attacked.
Yeah.
In my head, and just walking through Sainsbury's car park, another supermarket. So there you go.
Mark, I've just got another question for you before we wrap up. What's your view on men's mental health, and why do you find that men struggle to talk more than women as such, or have done in the past?
I think the difficulty for men, and it's an actual thing called the gender gap, whereas men are more likely not to attend their man clinic. They're not likely to go and tell the GP that something's wrong. They'll hardly express their emotions or their feelings because, you know, that's not manly, you know? So, for example, and I used to say when I was teaching communication and things like that, because I was a pre-release and offending behaviour unit instructor when I first started in the prison service. And I said, right, okay, for example, the door's over there and we've got twins running through the door. 4-year-old, 5-year-old twins, one little boy and one little girl. And they come in tearing through and they both trip up at the same time. And Dad's there and he picks the little girl up and he's like, "Come on there, it's all right, don't worry." And he's like, "What are you crying for? It's just a graze," to the boy. And from an early age, females are allowed to express their emotions, their pain, how they're feeling, and lads are seen to be weak if they show that they're in pain. So just a little example I used to use, but it is, you know, it's an institutional thing, whereby, I mean, I hope now that more men do come forward, and we are able to talk about it, but people still, you know, a lot of men just don't open up or won't ask for help because it's seen as being weak, and it's not a weakness.
No.
I'd much rather somebody asked, you know, they don't have to say, I need EMDR or I think I've got this, but just like the chat today.
Yeah.
You know, just chatting away and just talking, didn't delve into it, just a conversation.
Natural.
And I will meet up with him again because we got on really, really well. Nice guy. And I got the impression that he wanted to talk so I just let the conversation flow with him, you know, and really I was listening. I wasn't doing a great deal of talking. I was putting a few keywords in there, but I was letting him do the chat sort of thing. So yeah, we'll definitely meet up again. But my big thing for men's health, and I'm just about to start another campaign for men's health actually shortly. So watch this space because it's coming. But I've had to wait a year because all the cafes and restaurants and everything's been shut. But I mean, the whole thing I did when I had skin cancer, about the Get It Seen, Get It Sorted program that I had set up with Dr. Babu from Beachfield Surgery, was that, again, like, women are used to being examined, you know, from an early age. It's not a problem. Go in and, you know, used to it, you know. Blokes, or, you know, it'll be all right. Don't need to get that sorted out. It'll be fine. Now, luckily, I'm medically trained, and I've seen this thing on my arm. It got a bit bigger. I mean, even Sarah said, "Oh, you know, that looks a bit weird." So went and got it sorted, and within weeks, you know, I knew it was a melanoma, and it was taken off. I've got a great big scar on my arm, but so many men, predominantly, they're all females, women that don't as well, but you know, men just see it as something that they don't need to do, and they don't want to be bothered or whatever. And it's this whole risk thing. Men are risk takers. You know, the biggest killer of young girls under the age of 25 is the boyfriend's driving, because that's what they do. Go out speeding in cars. You know, I mean, they just men take risks, and they you know, they don't think about the consequences. Women will think about things a lot more. They'll talk to their friends. You know, I mean, if you put a group of women together in a room, and they don't know each other, they'll be chatting away within seconds. You put a group of men together, it'll take forever before anyone will say hello. They'll just sit there like going, you know, what's that all about? You know, and I think
be giggling in the corner as soon as they've met each other.
You know, but that's how people are wired up. It's how they've been taught. It's how they, you know, how they've been brought up. It's, you know, what their parents were like. You know.
What do you think I mean, this might not be an actual specific answer, but what do you think the next stage is? How do we change that going forward?
I think it's a slow process. And I think the process has already started. And, you know, I hope by things like this and doing the mental health walks you know, just in South Holland, that we were able to improve the opportunities for men to be able to talk about how they feel, and the impact that's had on them, and have the facility to be able to just open up without fear of feeling like, you know, there's something that's, you know, completely wrong with them, and that they're weak and they're not manly. But I think being able to have a conversation, being able to talk, is a very important sign of being a human being, male or female. You know, and that is the thing. It's about, you know, feeling that whatever you say, you're not going to have that thrown back in your face. Someone's going to listen
Absolutely.
and not be judgmental.
Well, it's like yesterday, a chap phoned me, and he's been wanting help for 4 years, but he's been too scared to get it. But he phoned yesterday and he said, I need help. Now, that must have took a lot of strength for him to do, but he's done it. And I'm meeting him next week.
Yeah.
You know, there you go. He's made that first move.
And that's the hardest thing, isn't it?
He's making that first move.
Yeah.
I will say I work more with men than I do women. So it is getting better. It is getting more out there. You know, but I don't make that man feel that he's wrong for feeling the way he might. I let him feel, you know, I let his emotions be his. Own your own emotions instead of, because people are so, especially with men, they're sort of like, oh, you know, man up and do that. No. That's worse.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the worst thing you can say to a man. Man up? No. You know, it's just about listening and treating him. You know, we all want it to be equal. We want it to be equal with mental health and everything. You know, we're all here to help each other, and I think, you know, I don't see it weak in a man at all.
I think it's actually a strength.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a strength to be able to do
absolutely a strength.
You know,
asking for help is finding a solution, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's moving yourself forward, and you're progressing if you're asking for help. So it's actually exactly a strength, not a weakness.
I think more people like Mark and a few others that speak out and show people it's okay to talk about it and show your emotions. I think more men will come forward, because it's you know, because I'm not doing that. It's like somebody needs to start the trend first, if you know what I mean. Because people are followers, aren't they? They see some, oh well, you know, he can do it, you know, oh my god, I can do it.
And it's taking that first step, that first step, and just, you know, not feeling, never feel that you're alone. Because,
absolutely.
Although, I mean, I felt I was the only person in the whole world who was going through this emotion at the same time as hundreds of thousands of other people in the world who were experiencing the same emotions as me, maybe for many different reasons, but, you know, felt that awful void that people who have the same condition as me, you know, and it's always going to be there. You know, it doesn't go away, but it's being able to deal with it, to cope with it, to live with it, learn with it, express it. You know, it's part of me now. You know,
I like that, because I feel exactly the same.
You know,
it's part of me. But the thing is, I live a healthy life, even though I've got this condition. If you didn't know me, you wouldn't know I have this condition.
No, that's right, and that's what I'm saying is like people don't.
You don't. You know, people wouldn't even know I have any form of mental health, because everybody sees me as such a happy, positive person. But I suffer with my depression. I have my down days, and you know, and everything like that. But I have tools in my toolbox, like we've always talked about. Me and Emma, you know, I pull one of those out and I use that back down. Going, right, I need this today. I need to push it a bit harder today. I've always got out of bed and made my bed, so I can't get back into that bed again. Going for a run, go for a walk. Boom, I'm okay again. If I laid in bed all day, I wouldn't be. Because you're not facing it. No. You've got to face it to get better.
I'm so looking forward to playing with the band. I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
So have you got any gigs lined up?
Will be available on this website. Sorry, Anna.
Have you got any gigs lined up?
Not really. I'm not, and I've been just a bit cagey. We've got a few things coming up, but at the same time, I don't want to commit to anything because, you know, who knows what's going to happen. And I'd rather it be sorted and then we can go for it, rather than, you know, making all these plans and then they all sort of fall apart. I mean, I'm the musical director for the Spalding Music Festival, and I've really missed the 2 years of that. It's just fantastic. But next year will be huge.
Well, you'll have to let us know when you've got some lined up, and we'll do a little bit of promoting for you.
Oh, that's right. Well, hopefully you'll come.
You're welcome.
Oh, definitely.
You can wear your new t-shirts.
No, we'll be dolled up in nice gear.
Oh, okay.
Brilliant. Right, so we'll wrap it up there then, guys. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your story so openly, and you know, and just talking about your experiences. I think you'll help so many people, not only to understand what they might be going through, but also to make that that small step, which actually is a massive step to.
If anyone wants to talk to me, I'm more than happy to listen to them.
Yeah, and thank you for all the wonderful things
Can't
you
believe
do.
it's gone really quick.
That's what you're talking.
Yeah, blimey.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, thanks for all the things you do in the
Emma.
community
Thank you.
and community Mind Matters. And enjoy your fish and chips.
We will. We will.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a bit of mushy peas.